You've said that desire is triangular.
Yeah, but there it is.
But you're suggesting more than that here, it seems. You're suggesting that experience itself is triangular, that we run our experiences themselves through the eyes of others.
Mm-hmm. Desire is triangular in the sense that he wants to go to the theater because he's heard about it, and not because he has any personal idea of what he wants, because...
But the important thing is he rewrites his experience of the theater to conform with an outside opinion, even absent of desire, that the experience itself is triangular. Sure. That's kind of spooky, because it suggests that everything we experience, we've rewritten in our head to conform to some external...
Just to... Yeah, it is a little bit spooky. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do not reject that definition.
Well, it's going...
But this is an extreme example, you know, only... And when people read that, they don't analyze it. They just see the child, he wants to go to the theater, the experience is not quite what he expects. But then people tell him, oh yes, it's great, and so forth. But if you analyze it really, it becomes spooky, as you say. It becomes spooky because, in a way, the self is done away with. Everything comes from the other. The only experience which is real is the experience that did not happen when he was at the theater. But the fact that this experience did not happen, the child attributes to his own inadequacy.
And sometimes that's true.
Yeah, and sometimes...
If you take somebody who has never been to a concert before, or never eaten an olive before, certain things are acquired by experiences, and we do triangulate those. We talk to
That's
someone.
why there are cultures. That's why everybody believes the same thing at one time, and believes something entirely different 25 years later.
But, yes.
Yeah.
So the process is in part valid, and in another way it's completely derivative, and it will lead us to living derivative lives.
But everything is derivative. The word derivative is a good one, because it derives from some great outside, which is in a way divinized by the child, because the child is convinced that all these adults know everything that he doesn't know. But then the Proustian experience keeps being the same. You fall in love with the girl because someone else already has, or something.
So what is the... I mean, this is so American to be kind of... So what's the answer? You know, move from the...
Well, the great experience is at the end, when time recaptured, when all these experiences are gone, and in a way the awareness of what I'm talking about, and the writing of it, which is perceived by the people who love Proust in a way as the inner life of the child, and it is. It's a constant miracle and mystery of an experience, but which has very little to do with reality outside.
So it's a long way from Proust to apocalypse, or would seem to be.
Yes, it is a long way. Yeah, no, Proust. Proust says very little about history, you know, because his novel includes the first. So there are psychological experiences of people who react in a certain way about the war. You know, the aristocratic character who is there, Monsieur de Charlus. Part of his family is German, so there are long reflections about why, in a sense, he's pro-German in France during the war and so forth. But they are not about the First World War. They are about the character and how he reacts to it, and the war itself is taken for granted. Everybody knows about it, and it's not described.
No, I'm thinking more of just Bob was describing the 4 phases of your thinking, and Bob was describing the 4 phases of your thinking and thought, and the way Clausewitz, he thinks, represents.
Well, I'm describing the first phase.
Yes.
Why did I put other novelists together with Proust? If you take Stendhal, for instance, you will see that desire is constantly the result of some kind of competition with someone else. It begins with Julien Sorel, you know, the hero, the red and the black, and Monsieur de Rênal suddenly decides it would be good for his reputation in his hometown, his social reputation, to have not his children go to school, but have a preceptor, a separate teacher that will, and he hires Julien Sorel from his father. And the father is very surprised at first, but very quickly catches up and asks for more money and so forth, and says to Monsieur de Rênal, well, if you don't want to give us more, we'll find something better with someone else. And immediately Monsieur de Rênal, he doesn't know what the result of that will be, but Monsieur de Rênal thinks of his rival, and thinks that his rival is probably eager to have a preceptor for his children too. Therefore gives more money. And later on, indeed, when the rival understands that Monsieur de Rênal is doing that for his personal prestige, he begins to desire the same thing and compete for Julien. You see, you have all sorts of scenes like that, which are always about the influence of people on each other, which is much deeper, at a much deeper level than the characters themselves realize, or that average novelist realize, which is the real constitution of the social underneath what appears on the surface.
And of course you found that the root of this is violence.
So in other words, that's what I call the mediation of desire, the fact that desire is always, there must be a third character who inspires a competitive, for this type of desire. And by desire, I do not mean appetite, of course. Appetite are natural. When you're hungry, you're hungry. But it may be mixed with mediated desire. You go to a restaurant because you're hungry, but also because this restaurant is fashionable. What does that mean? That means you go because of other people.